Welcome everyone. This is a Metal Gear Solid interview video. Normally I do a lot of playthrough videos, and this particular video is an interview, which I hope goes well. If it does go well, probably have a lot more content, a lot of this going on. But this is a PlayerAlert. He's been doing this for a couple of years now, and his channel has grown substantially. In fact, actually, I think you just got, what was it?
Yeah, the YouTube
affiliate?
partnership. Yeah,
partnership. That's what it is. Affiliate, I think, is like
that's
Twitch.
right. So. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, essentially. Well, congratulations on that, by the way.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, it was a nice surprise, really, because the usual milestone for YouTube is like 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, but they only a few days put in a slightly lower milestone that you had to hit. So I kind of like hit it then. I was like, oh, great.
Nice.
But it's so new to me. So I'm still kind of figuring it out. I've got to create like stickers and or membership tiers and all that. So it's all new to me, but I'm excited to dive into it. But yeah, thanks for having me on your channel. We kind of mentioned on the intro of my video, but you obviously popped up in my live stream at one point. And so I decided to check out your channel and just saw that you've got like so many like full-on walkthroughs and playthroughs of Metal Gear Solids. One that stood out to me was I think you did a tutorial video on putting the Metal Gear Solid's original score into the Twin Snakes, which I thought I never knew you could do that. So I was like, what the hell? That's amazing.
I actually stumbled upon that guy's original post, and I was like, this is awesome. Somebody needs to get this out there and like talk about it a lot more. And that's the whole reason why I made that video and made that thing. That, and I was like, I have a particular love-hate relationship with Twin Snakes. So when I wanted to play the game, I was like, I want it to feel like the original game. So that's why I was like, I'm gonna put some effort into this. But that's cool. I'm glad.
Yeah. No, I thought that was kind of because Twin Snakes is kind of like a guilty pleasure of mine. I definitely understand a lot of the criticisms for it. Like they're definitely warranted. But the biggest thing I dislike about it is the change in music. Yeah. So to see that you could put the original score in, I was like, that's awesome. Like that's so good.
yeah, I completely agree with that. When I was playing it, I was like, this music's all right. And then I got to like the second floor basement, like right where we talked to the DARPA chief, and I was like, there's something off. I can't play this. So then I was like, I'll go and do it again. It's kind of funny because like I actually had to go and buy the game. It's like down under my desk over here, but I was like, I'm not gonna be able to play it this way because like the music just irritates me too much. But I already was well aware of all the other issues, like the top stuff. I've seen videos. Yeah. But in all honesty, like if you want to play that game, like the original Metal Gear game, I think you can completely do it. I think that's the way I played it in that demo or whatever you want to call it, that playthrough. So, it was good.
Yeah, definitely. God, my back catalog just grows every year, and I'm like, I always make like almost like a New Year's resolution to work through the backlog of games I've got, and it never works.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I have backlog of years and years of games from multiple consoles, stretching from like NES to like PS5. So don't feel bad.
Yeah, I play a few games and I'm like, I might just play a Metal Gear Solid game again. Give MGS3 another playthrough.
Actually, that's what I was going to do. I'm running through.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, I just started playing. I just put MGS1 on my PS3 again the other day. I just like was in the mood and was just like, this game. It's just the atmosphere of that game for me is what does it. I think it's just so well done. Again, talking about the music, I think the music plays such a huge part in that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just what classic.
Yeah, I 100% behind you on that. It's kind of funny because like I literally have this thing just sitting on my desk. It just sits
nice,
there all the time, and I'm like just looking at it. I'm like, I just I've got now.
You can't see on my camera, but I've got like a shelf above me with like all the games lined up as well. So it's kind of nice inspiration when I'm doing a video. Just kind of look up there, and I've got here some artwork, and then I've got huge poster of Solid Snake. It's like my shrine of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah,
this little corner of my house.
If I had more room to put stuff up, I probably would. I actually used to have, there was this old shirt that came out in like when the first game came out, because you actually have an awesome Metal Gear shirt on, by the way.
Oh yeah, let me
look at this.
Show this up. Metal Gear Rex Owner's Workshop Manual.
Yes, that is so cool. I love it.
But you can get this on Amazon if anyone's wondering.
Someone go buy that shirt. Keep that person, whoever made that, employed. I have one too, but mine's not nearly as cool. It's a little older.
I think that's awesome. Personally, I love that. So it's Rex in a cardboard box, like bursting out of a cardboard box. By the looks of it, I think that's brilliant. I want that.
So but I had this other shirt that came out a long time ago. It was like this weird art version of it that doesn't look like any of the art they have now, and it was like a full Metal Gear shirt, and I have no idea what happened to it. It was like
oh my god.
T-shirt. It was the original so cool. 90s launch shirt. It was cool.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Do you know, like, what characters were on it? Was it, like, the
It had Meryl, it had Snake, and I think it may have had Gray Fox on it.
Oh, yeah. I think I've seen an image of those three characters. I wonder if that's the image that they put on the shirt.
It's not done in their, like, the typical Metal Gear styling. It has...
you said, yeah.
It has like a more Western style to it, and I don't know who did the art for it, but it's a cool shirt. I just I went to go find one recently, and it was like being sold on eBay for like $50. I'm like, I'm not spending $50 on someone's shirt.
Yeah. You're like, I like the shirt, but I'm not going to pay that much. Like, that's
exactly.
I don't care how many times they wash that shirt. It's not paying that much.
Exactly. You put it on, it's like, it kind of smells weird. I have one. This is my softball question. I'm going to throw this one to you. It's a super easy one. I'm just curious more than anything. Do you ever go to like comic conventions or any type of conventions like that? And if you've gone to them, have you met any of the cast from Metal Gear?
Yeah, I can grab a picture off my wall right now. This is me, and I hope this will come up because I've got a blur. This is me and David Hayter.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wearing a Metal Gear Solid t-shirt there. So, yeah, this was London Comic Con 2021, I think. Yeah, so obviously, it was during obviously we had the bloody pandemic and all that. But yeah, all of a sudden it was my birthday is in October, and I was just on Twitter, and David Hayter, I think he was in Spain at the time because he does a show called Warrior Nun. Not sure if you've ever seen it on Netflix. It's he's one of the co-writers on it essentially. So he was kind of in Europe, and out of nowhere he just posted on Twitter saying, "Hey, people from the UK, I'm going to be at London Comic Con." And I showed it to my wife, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, because I wanted to get one of those. I forgot what the app's called, where you get like celebrities to record themselves giving you a birthday message.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of the app, but I know. I've seen it before. Yeah.
Cameo, I think it's called. I think it's called Cameo. So he wasn't able to do that because he said he was too busy. But then this came up, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like, can I, for my birthday? Can we go? Like as a birthday treat?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." got the permission from the wife.
You have to.
You have to.
When they enjoy the stuff too, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So we went, and originally I just got a photo, paid for a photo with David Hayter, but about 10 minutes beforehand, my wife was like, "Oh, you can get a signing with him as well," and I was like, it was like another like £50, and I was like, "Oh, whatever, let's just do it. We're here," and I'm really glad I did. And this is my advice to anyone who goes to like something like a convention where you're going to meet a celebrity: is I would choose the signing over the photo, because the photo was like, I walked in, he said he liked my shirt, we fist bumped, took a picture, and then I was gone. And it was so quick, and I was like, oh my god, that was like 30 seconds at most.
Oh wow.
Whereas the signing, you get to like, I got to speak to him at a desk. I got him to, I'll pull another thing off the wall here. I got this canvas artwork that's coming through.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I grabbed this at a stall that was selling it, and yeah, got him to sign it. He just wrote war has changed, just did a Snake quote. He asked me, what my kind of one of my favorite moments from Ocelot was, and I talked about the Grey Fox death scene in MGS1, and he was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. And then right at the end, he was like, saying goodbye, and then he leant in to my ear and he said, I just want you to know you're pretty good, in the Snake voice.
Yes.
And it was like hearing God speak. It was just amazing. I was just like, that's incredible. I think I just laughed with joy. I think I called him a legend or something like that. But yeah, it was, if you get a chance to meet David Hayter, I really recommend it. He's just a swell guy, really down to earth, and loves the fans.
I've actually met him, and I 100% agree with you on that. He is so good with fans, and he's very approachable and you can talk to the guy.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
He's by far, I've met a few celebrities. He was the coolest person I've ever met out of all of them. And
yeah,
he very much recognizes his role in the Metal Gear series, and is very down to earth about it too.
Definitely. How did you meet him? What's the story there?
2014.
Oh wow! So 9 years ago.
Yeah, about like here. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of him. So I was a bit younger then.
Yeah, I mean that's almost 10 years ago. That's amazing.
Was it? Yeah, yep, 2014. But
wow,
this picture is a bit cheesy, but. So I actually have a few pictures with him. You can't really see it too much. Oh, come on.
Oh, yeah, I can see it just about, yeah. It's a little out of focus, but...
I'll have to cut it into the video.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
There's a few of them in there, and they're pretty entertaining. It actually puts me in a chokehold in one of them. And, but him and I were just chatting about the game series, and I was talking to him. It was actually both him, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who does Colonel Campbell.
Oh, yeah.
They were both there. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, I was talking to them, and I was talking to them about because I have a daughter, and her name's Naomi, and I was talking to him about like, she's partly named that because of the character, and he was like, I'll have to tell Jennifer that, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. And so I was just sitting there, I don't know. It was like the very beginning of the convention, and he was right at the entrance, and I think I talked to him for a good 20 minutes before I actually went into this place and actually did anything else.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think Paul Iding, I think, is the Campbell actor. I think that just came to me.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so cool. Did you get much
I didn't
talk
get much
with Paul Iding?
No, he was over there in the back, kind of just early in the morning, kind of just messing around on his phone. And I was like, well, I'll leave him alone.
Yeah.
He listened to the conversation and piped in a little bit, but not too much.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, it is difficult because I think that you do have to know when to be respectful with these people as well, because it's kind of easy to want to just go up to them and be like, oh my god, I'm such a huge fan, but which I think David Hayter is perfectly fine with that, but there is an element where you're like, I don't want to be rude though at the same time.
Exactly.
But that's so cool that you got to meet him as well. Yeah,
he did the voice as well for me. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I know exactly what feeling you're talking about.
Yeah. My dream, my almost YouTube goal is to get an interview with David Hayter on my channel. I just because I know he's done that before. I've watched videos with YouTubers who have interviewed him. I just think, man, if I can get that, if I can achieve that, that would be I'm done.
You got to get him and Cam at the same time. The two of them, have you ever watched the way they bicker between each other, like him and Liquid? Oh my god, it's the most entertaining stuff. It's they are literally almost like brothers, because it's so hilarious how they just talk to each other. So
did you see they did, I think it was for the Christmas last year, they did I was like the Grinch song, "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch."
Yes, I did. I just saw that. That was great. I loved it.
So good. I was like, these guys are just legends. Like to do that, you know, it's another thing where like, you know, they don't have to do it, but I think they do it for the fan base because they love this fan base so much, and it's just awesome.
Fan base. It really is.
Yeah, it is. It's one thing about what I've loved about doing my YouTube channel and kind of dedicating it to Metal Gear Solid is like just meeting other people who love this series as much as I do, you know. Sometimes, because like, you know, sometimes I'm like, you know, am I crazy for loving this series so much? Because I've met a few people and they're like, oh yeah, I played like 1 or 2 of the games, it's okay. And I'm like, but why don't you love it as much as me?
No, I'm with you. Exact same scenario. It's like I got people around me who like it. They're like, they're not into it as much as I am. So
no, definitely. But yeah, obviously YouTube, you find that audience, and I just love interacting with the subscribers and in the chat, in the comment section, or in the chat, and when I'm doing a live stream. So that's been the best part of doing YouTube for me.
Oh, that's awesome. I got one question. This is officially the first question. Although we've gone on to tangents, but it's great. This is all good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is your story behind how your first Metal Gear game? Like, how did you get that game? Like, what's the whole backstory behind it?
Yeah. So, the first kind of time I ever saw Metal Gear Solid was I was visiting my uncle and walked into his house, and he was just playing the first Metal Gear Solid game, and it was the second boss battle with Sniper Wolf, so you know, amongst like the snowy trees and stuff like that, and like I was seeing like, you know, the PSG scope and all that, and I saw a bit of the codec cool as well.
What year was that? I'm just curious.
Well, I think the game came out in 98, or I think it might come out in 99 in the UK. I think we got it a year later in Europe. So it was probably around that time. I think it was pretty new. He was quite into his gaming, so I think he probably would have picked it up pretty early. So yeah, 99 or maybe 2000. So I saw that and I was like, this looks so good. And I happened to then, maybe, I don't know how much later, but I got a demo disc for the VR missions game. Just from a PlayStation magazine, and I just kept playing the hell out of that, and then eventually got my hands on the game. I was quite young at the time. I must have been about 9. No, yeah, probably about 9 around the time. And I can't remember if my parents bought it for me or how exactly I got it, but I just had it at some point, and I just played it and just loved it. I think at that age I just thought it was the coolest game I'd ever played. You know, like you got like Snake is a really cool protagonist, and all the bosses were like just so cool in different ways. You know, Revolver Ocelot spinning the guns, and Sniper Wolf, Psycho Mantis. I loved it. It got its claws in me, and I was hooked. And just pretty much ever since it's still to this day, I think the first game is probably my favorite game of all time. And I'm not necessarily saying there's not better games out there, but I think just the impact it had on me at that time, no other games hit me that hard. So it's, you know, despite it being maybe a dated game in some ways, I love it to bits. Like, it's just incredible. And then obviously just went on to play the rest of the series. But how about you?
It's kind of funny. I would say I got the game probably, trying to figure out how old I was when I ended up playing it. So I was a Nintendo kid, and I didn't have a PlayStation until I was a little older. And when I actually had to get the PlayStation myself, and when I picked up the console, I picked up like a couple of games, and one of them was Tomorrow Never Dies, which is a terrible game. Don't play that game.
It's no GoldenEye.
Yeah, exactly. And then what was the other games I picked up? I think I picked up Siphon Filter, which is actually a pretty good game.
Classic. Yeah.
And a friend of my mom's he came by and he sold all of his PlayStation stuff, and he's like, oh, I got some games, I'm gonna give them to you. And I was like, okay, I'll take the games. Like, you need to play this game. He's like, it's the coolest. It's like playing a movie. And I'm like, oh, okay, because what does that really mean?
Yeah.
And so he gives it to me, and I pop it in, and we're sitting there looking at it. He's like telling me like, oh, it's gonna do something real cool, and the controller starts shaking when the hind D flies by, and I'm like, wow, this game is really different than most of the games I've ever played. Because I mean, Nintendo doesn't have a lot of, particularly the Nintendo 64, didn't have a lot of cinematic like things going on in it. Yeah. So when I played that, it was like this plot line, this story, the gameplay to cinema ratio, like the whole thing as a package, the voice acting, it blew me away. I'm like, I didn't know you could make a game quite like that. And when I experienced it, I was like, this is by far one of my favorite games I've ever played. And then it's just, the series is my favorite series. And like, I cannot imagine trying to fill the holes in my life that Metal Gear has filled, because throughout all my life I've been playing these games, and it's been great. I mean, the first time I played a Metal Gear game wasn't Metal Gear Solid, actually. It was, and I didn't even know what it was. It was originally the NES game. And it's not the same thing. It's okay, but I played it, and I don't know, I was probably 6, maybe, and I couldn't figure out how to get past the stupid dogs, and so I just got mad, and I was like, I'm done. I mean, 6, whatever. But that's basically like my introduction to the series, and it's kind of sad. But that one that was given to me by my mom's friend, I lent it to a friend of mine, because this goes back to that thing that you and Luffy were talking about. Don't lend out your video games, which you should not. I lent it to him, and I also lent like Grand Theft Auto Vice City to another friend, but I never got Metal Gear back, and I was so upset. So I was like, for a while, I'm like, I've been looking for like a pristine copy, and I had to like, I found one that had like a good disc, but like disc 2 was messed up. So I like pieced together my copy of it now, which is, it's pretty good condition. It's got the book, it's got everything in it now. It's not my original copy. It sucks.
That's so annoying. Yeah, when that happens. Yeah, like you said, when on the episode I did with Luffy. You know, it's kind of weird. I wonder now if kids do lend games to each other, because I feel like with like digital games, probably you can't really do that. Yeah, and I just don't hear about that anymore. But yeah, it definitely comes with its cons. So I mean, maybe it's good that they kind of die.
Yeah, you can take it over, but you take it back with you when you leave. Don't leave it there. You may never see it again.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, I mean, that's, it sounds, your kind of story about just the first time I experienced it, I just relate to it so much. Like, it's kind of weird when I talk about it, and like hearing what your story, I'm like, oh yeah, that's how I felt too. Like, there's so many elements of that game. You know, I remember, like, it kind of sounds kind of depressing, but it was the first game where I felt sad playing a game at times. Yeah, and I think like on one of my, maybe my first, or I think it was my first playthrough, was when, spoilers, Meryl dies. You know, I failed the torture scene.
I think everybody fails that first time. I failed it.
I was like, how the hell do you do this? But yeah, I mean, that scene when Meryl dies, obviously it's not canon anymore. That was like hard to watch, you know, at that age, and that was another thing where I was like, games can be this.
Legitimately felt like a failure, and it was terrible. I was like, I failed this poor person. I know exactly what you're saying.
That was like, that was another thing where I'd never felt that in a game up until that point, and you know, even like Sniper Wolf's death scene, that was so groundbreaking. You know, it's been talked about many times, but the fact that, like, you know, prior to that, when you beat a boss in the game, it's like a victory, you know, I beat the boss, you know, on to the next level. This, you beat Sniper Wolf, and it's like, what have I done? Like, this person had a horrible upbringing, was kind of forced into this life, and I've had to just, like, kill her because it's the mission, you know? Like, that was just, like, that was something else, I think, that no other series has I can't think of another series even today that's kind of had that same impact with beating a boss. There probably are examples, but like definitely nothing that stayed as much as that.
Yeah, nothing
that's
impactful. Like it's had it, but I think I talked about this at one point. Like often mimicked but never reproduced. Like it's hard to really reproduce that original aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's what makes the original Metal Gear so unique. Even if they're trying to reproduce it with the Twin Snakes, the Sniper Wolf scene in Twin Snakes isn't as good as the original Sniper Wolf scene. Partly because of the music, but there's something about the way the delivery of the lines and the way the music cuts in and everybody comes running up at particular moments. Well, when Emmerich comes up, but
I know what you mean. Yeah, like that's literally like same voice actors. You know, like I said, the music's different, which I think the music is such a huge part of that scene. I think it's called Enclosure. I think the song is. It's kind of like one of those lightning in the bottle moments where, you know, you just can't capture that again. Like they caught it back in, I don't know, 97 when they're probably recording it. It's so unique.
That was my first easy question. Good question, though. Great answer.
I'm looking forward to I'm kind of scared about these hard ones. You said we're going to be going deep.
Some of them are going to get a little philosophical too. So those are towards the end. So I like to really want to dive into some stuff that a lot like doesn't really get talked about too much.
Okay.
Like you get someone's opinion like in a video, but there's no back and forth. So that's
sure.
So this is an easy one too, and you just asked this question on your channel, and when you asked it, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to ask it to you anyway.
Yeah, let's go for it.
What platform are you going to get the Master Collection on, and why?
Right. So I think I'm going to get it. I'm probably going to get it on 2 platforms. I want to get it on my Nintendo Switch. I think I have a PS Vita, so I can bring a lot of the Metal Gear Solid games with me anyway. But obviously the Vita has slightly limited controls. So I want to get on the Switch so I can just bring Metal Gear Solid on the go with me, you know, if I'm traveling for work or on holiday or something like that. So I'm going to get it on there. And then I think I'm also going to get it on Steam or Windows PC, just so if I want to stream those games, I have a really easy way of doing it. So I think, if I'm feeling really, really needy for more Metal Gear, I've got an Xbox Series X, so I may get it on there, but that's probably the least option, I guess. But yeah, Switch so I can take it on the go, and PC to make it easier to stream. But how about you? What did you choose?
So I'm one of those people who's like, the PlayStation is the home for Metal Gear Solid, and I still feel that way about it. So, and I have my PS2 like right here, then my PS3. I mean, I have both HD Master collections of the game. I have like the original release, and then like the one that has like it has like literally everything in it at that point.
Oh, yeah, Legacy Collection. I think that one's called, right? Yeah. Oh, I envy you. I wish I got that at the time, but now it's like it cost a bomb. On eBay and stuff.
Yeah, I bought it right before it started getting really expensive. I was like, I don't want this. I already have the games. I was like, no, I want this now. But so I bought it, and I don't know. I have like every single game at least 2 or 3 times.
Brilliant.
So I'm probably going to get it on the PS5 because that's where I have the definitive collection. Actually, I have the definitive collection on Xbox and the PS5 and on the PC. So I'm like, but I'm going to get it on the PS5 so I can have that controls and just have it all kind of in a nice place, which my PS5 is like right next to me too. But I'm probably also going to get it on the Switch for the exact same reason that you said. I want to be able to play it mobile. I want to be able to take it around. It's a little easier to take it out and about and like say show somebody something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I know what you mean about. So I don't actually have a PS5 unfortunately, but I'll probably get one in maybe a year's time. But going back to what you were saying about kind of still thinking of them as PlayStation games, I totally understand that. I think I spoke to someone in one of my comment sections about this, actually, because they said they were going to get on PlayStation for the same reason. And it is weird because I think, like, even MGS2 had an Xbox port, and that's how I actually played it back in the day. And then I got a PS2 and played 3. So it has been on multiple systems, but I think because it was such an iconic original PlayStation game, it just still has that kind of like, that's the place where it needs to be. In like, I if I had a PS5, I'd probably get on there as well for the same reason. It just feels right. I don't know why.
No, it's kind of funny that the reason I think that more specifically is like I bought Metal Gear Solid 5 initially on the Xbox because I didn't have a PS4 at the time, and when I was holding the controller, I just couldn't get it. Didn't feel right to me. And when I bought it again on the PS4, it like I was like, I can play the game. And the problem was there was also a bunch of little things. Actually, this kind of goes into another question later, but I'll go and touch into it now. There is a bunch of stuff that is in the Metal Gear the series itself, and particularly with the PS4, like where you get like the speaker talking to you out of the controller. You don't get that on any of the other platforms. So there's like little stuff like that only happens on the PlayStation. And that's what I really liked about buying it on the PlayStation.
That's true, yeah.
The graphics are designed with the PlayStation in mind first, and then adapted to the other platforms after the fact.
Right, I see. Okay, yeah. So it feels kind of more truer if you're playing it on PlayStation. That's a good point there about I forgot about the little speaker that comes with the well, since the PS4, I think, isn't it? They've included that. What? Because the first time no, not the first time. Sorry, the second time I played MGS5 was on my PS4 Pro. Is it the iDroid that comes out of the speaker?
Well, it's like, it's the sounds like you got weird, like letting you know there's a storm coming or whatever it may be.
Oh, yeah. God, I completely forgot about that feature until you just said that.
It was really cool. Because I didn't know it was going to do that when I was playing. I was like, what the? And I was like, this is this is neat. It actually makes it pulls you into the game a little bit more because you feel like you're getting like it's talking to you directly. So. It is. I do love those little features, like immersive. Like they can come across a bit gimmicky at times, but I do think it's kind of cool when it just has another level of like immersion, I think. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if what they do with MGS Delta and that feature, whether they start adding certain sounds to the PS5 controller, because that has the same thing. That's a good point. Is the PS5 going to have the adaptive triggers in that game, or what?
Who knows?
I didn't even think about any of that.
That's true. Yeah. One to think about. I'm trying to think what they could do. I guess you could. You have like the trigger, tension, things like that, and you like adaptive triggers. Who knows? But I'm excited to see. I hope they really like dive into it because that'd be really cool if they do. Because I played, whilst I don't have a PS5, I got a PS5 controller and I played a few PS5 games on my PC, which enable those features. And I played Death Stranding Director's Cut, and the first time I think I was like using a spray, and that feeling on the trigger blew my mind. Like the way it felt, I was like, what the hell? Like this is like so unique. Like it was such a new thing for gaming for me. It was just awesome. I know exactly what
you're saying with that. I haven't I played Death Stranding, and I got not very far into it, like enough to know what's going on in the game, but I was playing on a PS4 controller, and then I upgraded it to the definitive edition, but I haven't gone back and played it, and I have the PS5 controller now, so I'm definitely going to try that out and see how it works.
Death not to go too off topic, I guess, but Death Stranding is a weird one for me. When I initially played it, I was like, I don't think this is for me. And then during lockdown, I just suddenly found the game felt very relevant.
And
I was like, wow, Kojima, man, you're just predicting the future here.
Yeah, that's one of my philosophical questions right there.
I look forward to that. And I was just like, I just got way into it's like so into that game, and I ended up completing it, and I'm really glad I did. There's some really nice surprises in that game where just things that come out of left field and you're like, what the hell is going on? But it's, you know, it's amazing, and it's Kojima at his weirdest.
Yeah,
which I'm all down for.
It's full Kojima. He went all in on that game, and to better or worse, it's very enjoyable.
yeah. All I say is it's a unique game. Like all the little quirks in that game. That's kind of what kept me playing. Those little Kojima quirks and little like signature strokes of his is what kept me hooked in that game. So yeah, it's definitely him without any reins to pull him back in, like you said, for better or worse. But if anything, I might just let him do what he wants. Like, it might not always be the best, but it'll certainly be something unique at the end of the day.
Exactly. So my next question is to continue on with the Master Collection. You just made the video about this one. How do I want to word this? What you already said what games you want to see in it, and you kind of actually pretty much directly answered that question. So I'm just going to rebuttal what I think needs to be in it because you already did.
Sure, go for it. Yeah.
I saw a leak. I don't know if it was a legitimate leak or not, but it was somebody saying Metal Gear Solid 5, and you mentioned you want Metal Gear Solid 5 in like the third one, where it's like a big boss collection. So
yeah,
I personally don't think they need to redo that unless they do exactly what you said, which is they tag in Chapter 3. And if they do something like that, then I'm like, yeah, you can package that as an entire new game. But if they just package it in there, because you can already buy it, you already can buy everything except for the Switch, which you also touched on this, which the Switch could possibly run it. I mean, it ran on a PS3 and it ran on an Xbox 360, so it could possibly do it. There'll be some work to be done, but it's plausible.
Yeah, it probably won't be the best port, but I think it could. I think with a few graphical settings being dropped and a 30 FPS frame rate, I think it's possible. But I'm no game engineer, so I can't say for certain. No, you're right. I agree with you. But you did say one thing that I 100% agree with you on: Twin Snakes. Twin Snakes needs to be in one of the collections. Yes, because it's such a hard game to get a hold of, and two, it's just as much of a Metal Gear Solid video game as say Portable Ops is. Like, even though it wasn't made by Kojima, it's still a Metal Gear game. No, definitely. Like, I think we kind of briefly mentioned it earlier. Like, I understand the criticisms for that game, and a lot of them are valid, but to me, it is still, like you said, a Metal Gear Solid game. I think the original game is the true version of that story. But I just can't help but still enjoy playing Twin Snakes. Like, I know the mechanics break the game, and I get it. I get all of that. But I like it every now and then as a slightly different way to experience the first story, essentially.
It's definitely easier on the eyes.
yeah, definitely. And I think I mentioned in the video, like, I just really believe in game preservation, despite my opinion on the game. Even, controversially probably in the video, I said I think maybe Metal Gear Survive should turn up in one of these collections, which I'm sure people would disagree with, and that's fine.
I'm not disagreeing with you, because for the exact same reason the other one is, it's a Metal Gear game, but it's also readily available to everybody if they want.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. But in terms of like the game preservation argument, I think Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, it's a Metal Gear Solid game, and it would be great to just to allow people to play that on modern hardware without having to emulate it or get a GameCube, and that game goes for extortionate prices physically as well.
I just making it. When I bought Twin Snakes, I think I spent $90 on it.
My God.
Without even it wasn't even in the original case. It was just like free-floating discs.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Man, I should have bought this when nobody wanted it. And I probably would have saved myself a ton of money, but I mean,
I'm so glad because I got my copy, God, probably like 6 years, maybe 6 years or more ago, and I got it for about £40 here in the UK. And then a few years later, I just traded it in for, I think I was trying to get like a new console. And I wish I could go back and just kick myself because now I don't own it physically. And if I do, I've got to pay more than probably £100 to get a hold of it. And I'm just like, why did you do it? And I actually I'm not sure. I think the US game cover is a bit different, but the UK or the PAL region cover is such a cool image. It's like,
it's way better. It's way better.
Have you seen it? Yeah.
I agree.
It's just awesome. It's such a strike. It's like solid and liquid or with like a red background. It just looks so cool when you look at it. So yeah, God, I don't know why I traded it in. What an idiot.
You wanted that console.
Yeah, I think it was like sense. Yeah. It went for a good amount of money, so at least I got that.
That's true. There was a couple of games I've done that. I've sold them off, and I've like, I probably shouldn't have done that. But
yeah.
It is some regret. So I'm just gonna run through my quick list of what I think needs to be in there. You can kind of bounce it off. It's
I'd love to hear your
Twin Snakes, Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid 4. Those are the main 3 games that need to be in there.
Okay.
The other one,
volume 2. Yeah.
So the reason why I say that is like the original or the volume 1 has 3 staple games, 2 NES games, and I guess the other ones are kind of, because they're in Metal Gear Solid 3, but they're in there. It's got essentially 4 classic games in there, and then it has the digital books. So
that's right.
I don't necessarily see these games as all like full-blown games because some of them are relatively small. So I agree with you with Acid 1 and 2 need to be in there. I think Portable Ops and Portable Ops Plus is not. That's the one I'm like, that's not really a full game.
No, it's more like an expansion. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And Ghost Babel, but Ghost Babel absolutely should be in there. It is such a difficult game to find. I've been looking for that game for probably 15 years.
My God.
Yeah, where I can actually like buy it where it's not like stupid expensive or damaged or anything like that. I just never found it.
Yeah. It's because I did a live stream of that a few months back now probably, because I've never completed the game, but God, that it's a great game. Like I just think it's incredible that they had a Metal Gear Solid game on the Game Boy Color and that they managed to do what they could with that hardware. Like it really is great. Like I think it would hold up really well just playing on like a Switch or any modern console really. So I hope they bring that in. The fact that I was really surprised with this volume 1 of the Master Collection that
it's good.
Included. Yeah, it was like shockingly, like just when I thought it was the first 3 games, I was like, oh, that's really cool, that'll do me. And then when it was like Snake's Revenge, which I know is supposed to be a terrible game, but the fact that they put that in there gives me hope for like Acids going into like future volumes or Ghost Babel. Like if they can put Snake's Revenge in, they can get these other niche games in there surely. And the digital graphic novels, like that was such an amazing. I can't wait to like watch those cool. through.
They came in that set that I was telling you about that I have. They're in there, so I just pop it into the PlayStation 3 and I can watch them. They're really cool. They're. I see why they're including them. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, because I've got the physical like paperback copies of the graphic novels, which are like really awesome. But yeah, I never played, because I know the digital graphic novel was a PSP game originally, but I don't think it was voiced. But I think in the version that you have, they the cast came in to voice it, and I've seen
like a third version of them recording the same thing. And I'm like, I mean, I wonder if they. Well, this kind of touches on. Actually, we can go straight into this next one. Twin Snakes. Should Twin Snakes be, or even Metal Gear Solid, be remastered, and they conglomerate all of that together to make a really good version of Twin Snakes, or just Metal Gear Solid with original voice acting, or even from that digital graphic novel? Could you put it all together and make something really cool?
Yeah. So do you mean like how do you mean exactly? Like just taking the different voice recordings,
the voice recording from the digital graphic, and because they say that the original voice recording quality is a bit rough, and I've heard the original voice recording played through other hardware equipment, like say a GameCube or anything other than the original PlayStation, and it does get it gets actually kind of scratchy sounding. And it's honestly, I think they probably could clean up the original recordings if they can find it, because technology now is way better than it used to be. So if they really wanted to do that, I think they could take the voice recording and port it into Twin Snakes and put the original music back. And I think I think the fan base would love that.
I think so too. Yeah, this is something that I've thought about as well, because I've had the same kind of story that, you know, the audio quality is not great, and apparently, like, they say you can hear like traffic in the background and stuff like that. But I was thinking the same thing recently about, like, surely, like, you know, like, you could clean that audio up, because I do think the performances are superior in that game. I think the original game probably has the most superior voice acting of any iteration of Metal Gear Solid. Even like the clips I have seen of the digital graphic novel are good, but they still don't hit the same as the original recording. So yeah, that'd be crazy if they Konami out of nowhere kind of remastered the Twin Snakes, but managed to put in the original music, the original voice acting. I don't know, that would be pretty cool. I'd love to see that as like a little project.
I was thinking about that, and as while I was writing that, I was like, you know what? At that point, you're almost committing to a remaster again of the game. So like, should that just be completely overhauled and then go with a whole new engine? That's true. I guess, like, because I think eventually we're going to get a remake of Metal Gear Solid 1 again. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. Whether they'll just, I would love it if they could clean up that original audio and put that in. I even think like the lower quality of that audio makes that game in a way. Not makes it. It adds they had to
it.
add all that reverb and the echo, and they give so much depth when you're there. It actually sounds like they're talking in this big echoey place, and the other versions don't get that. And it's better for it.
That same, I agree. Like when I was playing the first one just the other day, you know, I was just watching the DARPA chief cutscene, you know, dialogue with Snake and the DARPA chief, and I was thinking then, I was like, what is it about this audio that I love? And it, like you said, it is that echoey reverb thing. It just adds like you said, it feels like they're in that room, and it adds to the atmosphere, I find. Like it gives it an atmospheric quality that you don't get in the Twin Snakes, which sounds way too clean and almost like I don't think the performances are bad. I think they're still pretty decent, you know, you know, but you can definitely tell. I think this must be a thing that just happens with actors. Like, if you're having to redo a whole script again, it's not going to be the same. Like, obviously actors do takes over and over again, but I couldn't imagine having recorded something and then, 5 years later, having to come back and do it all over again. You're not going to get the same performance that you had originally. It's going to feel like, oh, here we go again, you know. Again, the performances are, I think, are fine, but
they tried. They did. You could tell they tried, but it's impossible to recreate the exact tone that they said because they can't recreate their mind space of how they were in the moment they were doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, who knows? Again, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the remake. That's such a man. I don't envy the people remaking Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, those are big shoes to fill.
Oh my god, yeah, because it could go in so many different directions. Twin Snakes obviously had a new
that the director from Twin Snakes actually went to Kojima and asked him, "Do you want me to make this game exactly the same, or do you want me to like do it different?" And he's like, "Make it your own." Well, that's why it looks the way it does. Yeah, and it's specifically, I don't get why Kojima kind of dogged the game because he kind of told him to do it that way. So it's,
I do sometimes. It's almost like a conspiracy theory. I don't believe it, but I like to think that sometimes like maybe he knew it was going to be bad, so he wanted his one to be superior. So
I would not put it past him based off of his comments and the way he responds to different things. He sabotaged him.
Yeah. His game remains on top.
He's like, the audio quality is terrible. You can't have it. You have to re-record it.
Oh, I can totally see him doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
All right, so those are all. That's pretty much all the answers.
The easy
on that
stuff.
One. Yeah. All right, so this is where we start getting into the more deeper conversation. And the reason I'm going to ask this one is because recently I just replayed Metal Gear Solid 2, the Tinker Mission, and I specifically want to talk about Ocelot. And I want to talk about I want to psychoanalyze this guy because of and I also want to talk about the liquid arm thing because you have to talk about that. I've heard your conversation before, and I get it. Like I kind of understand your opinion, but I want you can also tell that Ocelot's infatuated with Big Boss. He's completely in love with him. But what's your take on Ocelot through the entire series, not just in Metal Gear Solid 2 or individual games, but him as an entire character through the whole series?
What's my take on Ocelot in the whole series?
Yeah, the whole series.
Whoa.
That's what I was saying. That's a lot. That's a heavy question.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about this the other day. I think I was watching one of I think it was one of Luffy Webster's videos talking about is Ocelot good or evil, and she, like, anyone watching, go check out that video. It's really good analysis. One thing with Ocelot, I found that he's the type of character where the more you find out about him, the less interesting he gets, in my opinion. I really love Ocelot in 1 and 2, where he's very, what's the term, like mysterious or enigmatic. Like, you're like, who is this guy? What's his plan? What's his end game here? And it's kind of one of those things that it's almost better left unanswered. I think what we got was, like you said, the Big Boss infatuation and doing everything in the name of Big Boss. It is cool, but I really liked it when he had so many secrets that you just didn't know about. I thought that was really cool part of that character. But I think with Ocelot, I think he's a guy who if he has his mind set on something, he will make sure it's achieved, no matter how dark he has to get to achieve it. He just kills Fortune in MGS2 out of nowhere, and it's kind of like, it's quite a dark scene, he's not afraid to kill people who get in his way. Like, he will do whatever to achieve his goal. And I think he's quite a terrifying character when you think about it that way. Like, I'm not sure, apart from being completely, like, the biggest fan of Big Boss ever, it's kind of interesting that, like, I do wonder if he feels remorse for the people who he's had to kill along the way. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think that, like, you know, the boss is his mother, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if he knows whether he knows the boss is his mum.
They never really say one way or another.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, I can't say if he does or doesn't.
Yeah. I saw, like, a comment, I think it was on Reddit the other day, that, like, it's kind of weird to think that he helped Naked Snake kill his mother.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of assisted in the Snake Eater mission. And it's kind of like, did he know that was his mother? If he did, that's really messed up.
You know, if he knew, he didn't know then.
Yeah. But I wonder if you ever found out, and, like, how do you feel, like, if you find that out, you know? But yeah, I mean, that is I think he is, like,
I mean, Snake thought he killed Big Boss.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, I don't know. Ocelot is a hard character to analyze, and it's. Did you say you might make a video on it, or what?
Yeah,
you think
actually,
about, like...
I'm probably going to go a little deeper into this, just because I've put some decent thought into him, and overall, he's. You can't talk about Ocelot without talking about Big Boss. And you kind of have to almost psychoanalyze Big Boss, because you look at Big Boss, and particularly in 3, he starts off as this really nice, really wholesome character. But by the end of it, something's been planted in him, and you can kind of see it. But the main thing that happens with Big Boss throughout his entire life is he leaves a trail of destruction of anyone who gets close to him. And it doesn't matter who it is, whether or not he cares about them or doesn't care about them. He destroys their lives. And Ocelot's one of those people. In Metal Gear Solid 2, Ocelot portrays Russia, and we see him, and they talk about this in 3. They show him when he's going back with, like, when he basically meets Big Boss. And I think it's funny that Ocelot's, like, he's such an arrogant character until he gets his ass handed to him. And as soon as he gets his ass handed to him, he's in love with this person. And once he did that, is like he was fully committed to going whatever Big Boss wanted, said, anything. He was
yeah.
And the thing about Ocelot is he plays a lot of head games with people, and he's all about manipulating them. And when, how do I put this? When he plays head games later on in, like, Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2, he's playing head games with Liquid. He's playing head games with Solid in Metal Gear Solid 2 with the arm, because, you know, like, because it's later said that Big Boss tells him basically that this was him pretending so he could trick the Patriots. Yeah. But I think there's way more to it than that. With the faking the arm thing specifically, he was playing these head games with everybody, and he doesn't see anybody as an equal. He only sees Big Boss as his equal.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
He's playing Snake, he's playing Solidus, he's playing Liquid, he's playing everybody as pawns. And the thing about him is he doesn't really recognize himself. And that's part of the way he's also able to deceive everybody.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Ironically, because he does that, he ends up losing touch with reality, because he has no grounding, like, personality at that point, that he ends up getting from his self-induced brainwashing so he can continue messing with people's heads. Yeah. And he ends up losing track of himself, like, completely. So he's basically that, and when he gets the arm put on, and then he's like, you also have, because he's so infatuated with Big Boss that he's essentially getting a piece of Big Boss grafted to him. And that's like a life goal for him. He wanted to be Big Boss. And so at that point, like, he's like fully in this like idea. And I think that actually, like, him portraying all that stuff, and I think it actually caused him to go insane. I think he's legitimately insane. I think he's schizophrenic. And and because of that arm, I think he legitimately is tormented by the spirit of Liquid. It's something that he can't ever let go of, because he's always thinking about Liquid, because he has to portray that concept. So in a way, that arm really was his downfall. Like, it pushed him way over the edge. And it's a haunted arm, like you guys were talking about. Not literally, like, to him it is, but everybody else
psychologically.
Yeah, exactly. And because of that, I think that when he gets closer to the end, he starts to recognize what's going on, where he fights Solid Snake and he realizes that Solid Snake is actually closer to the big boss that he fell in love with, which is the untainted big boss. That and he respects him for it, which is why he says, "You're was it the big boss's doppelganger, and I'm Liquid's," or something like that.
I can't remember the exact line, but
it was something along those lines on the end of 4, and you respected him for that. And it's really interesting because both Venom and Ocelot's minds are completely destroyed by the time their end comes. Yeah, they have no idea what's really going on, and it's 100% Big Boss's fault. And I just think it's like, that's why I want to go in more detail about this thing, because there's a lot to be unpacked with Big Boss, Venom, and Ocelot, particularly because Ocelot had so much interaction with Venom and with Liquid from a long period of time.
That's a really great analysis of the character, actually, because I never really thought about it, like you said, of him kind of losing his own identity in the pursuit of being like infatuated with Big Boss and kind of wanting to be him and seeing him as a role model that he aspires to be. And what your point about getting Liquid's arm sewn onto his body, which is effectively has the genes of Big Boss, is a really good point about, he probably does believe that Liquid is, like, maybe in that moment when in the Tank chapter where because he is obviously at that point. He has
to see him as a character, so he has to portray that character. So he's always imagining him, because he has at the time. It's crazy.
Yeah. So it probably gets to the point where, he truly does believe at one point that he is Liquid, and but I never really thought about it as like a way to kind of get closer to Big Boss. The kind of the lengths that he goes to in order to achieve that is kind of like, if a psychologist saw that, he's going to get diagnosed with something, whether it's schizophrenia or, I don't know, there might be a more accurate description, but that's there's so much to dive into there, and I think you've done a really good job there of like kind of thinking about that, because that kind of like raised some points that I hadn't even thought about. But he's such a complex character overall, which I think is what makes him so great, because there's so many layers to this character. And I think MGS3, really, it's quite funny when you see Ocelot at the start of that game, when he's like this kind of like arrogant wildcard type character, and then to see where he is, even in MGS1, this kind of like calm, collected, like, he still has that arrogance with the gun twirling and all that kind of stuff. But it is kind of crazy to think of like that Kojima thought of this origin for him. Like, okay, the reason this guy's like this is because he just fell in love with the legend, essentially, and someone who bested him, almost like an alpha male. He kind of fell for, and was like, I want to be like that guy, because it's the first guy who's ever taken me out, and so he deserves my respect. And then he just went with that for the rest of his life.
Yeah, he totally did. So both you and Luffy were talking about Cobra style names for them, and you both struggled with this. I got two names because I obviously had way more time to think about it than you guys did. But Big Boss's name is the Bitter because he's such a bitter person. Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
And Ocelot's name is the Confident, but he's really just incredibly insecure, so it's kind of ironic because he portrays this security aspect and that he's like super confident, but he's not. He's always really kind of playing off of, he has to fake it all the time. Like
he's like I guess a good example is when he gets his first revolver, and it's like got the nice engravings on it.
Exactly.
And he's really proud of that at first until again Snake calls him out on it. It's like, what tactical advantage is that going to give you? And then instantly the next scene he switched it because of his insecurity. He wants to be seen as like this cool guy, and as soon as someone points him out or throws him to the floor, he completely switches his character profile to look good in their eyes. It's kind of that's another point about him, his insecurity. That's actually a really good character trait to raise, actually, because it definitely shows in MGS3 specifically.
I think it's funny they had to do that call out in Metal Gear Solid 5 where that guy's got the revolver and he's like, you don't need that. And I was like, oh, well played.
Yeah, it's like word for word.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was playing MGS5. I'd started a new playthrough recently, and I saw that scene. I'd kind of forgotten about it, and I was like, wow, they really did this, like, line for line. Yeah,
they did. They totally did.
It's a fun callback, though.
This is kind of off topic. I love that game. I love the game's gameplay. I do not like the way the storylines like depicted, like how it's portrayed. I think that's how everybody feels about it. It doesn't. You can't follow the story as easily as you could with some of the other ones, but the gameplay is so good. Like there's a few games that I will go back and play over and over and over again, not for the story, but simply for the gameplay. GoldenEye is one of those. Fantastic gameplay. And Metal Gear Solid 5. I'll just load it up just to run around in there, just to do nothing. It's just a fun game.
Yeah, it's exactly what I do. Like, it's only recently when I've really started properly diving into it again, but ever since that game's been out, probably every couple of months, I just, like you said, dive in there, maybe do a main op, a side op, develop some weapons, like just get a little fix of MGS5, because there is something, that gameplay is just like, it's just the way, like, the movement and everything just is so seamless. And it's kind of interesting when you go back to a game like MGS3, which I love that game, but I do think maybe some of the gameplay feels a bit clunky by today's standards. And I think a big part of that is because
I tried to go back and do it, and I was like, ooh. I forgot how weird it was.
And I think, like, MGS4 played a big part in developing Metal Gear Solid's gameplay, but MGS5 just nailed it. Like, it's so good, and like you said, I'm not a big fan of the delivery of that story either. I prefer the more linear experience of prior Metal Gear games. But yeah, thank God for that gameplay, because it does bring me back, like, over and over again. I do wonder if that gameplay wasn't as good as it is, what the opinion on MGS5 would be. Like, would it have been a huge disappointment for fans? Who knows? But yeah,
that's a good point.
The gameplay is awesome.
Yeah. All right, so I got another question. Hopefully this one's not too long. What do you think about the paranormal aspect of Metal Gear Solid series? Do you think it diminishes the impact of Psycho Mantis? Sorry, say the question again. The paranormal. What do you think about just the paranormal aspect of the entire game, like all of the games in whole? And does that kind of take away the uniqueness of Psycho Mantis.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I personally like the paranormal side of Metal Gear Solid. It's probably one of my favorite aspects of that series. I think that's I've got a question on my list which we'll probably dive into this bit, but I think it's one of the things that makes Metal Gear Solid what it is. Because if you look at Metal Gear Solid on a very top level, you know, an infiltration game about destroying a nuclear armed tank, essentially, like that could easily be such a grounded game, you know, very like grounded military type game. But the fact that this series has these weird paranormal, like, you know, MGS3, one of the boss battles is a ghost, you know, like stuff like that. And I think it's such a key ingredient of Metal Gear Solid. I think if that wasn't in it, you would lose quite a lot of what makes those games. As to whether does it kind of take away a bit from Psycho Mantis, I've never thought of it that way. I can see why someone might think that, because it kind of like, I guess he was the first real kind of like more paranormal type character we ever saw, so he really stood out in that first game. But I think for me, I always see Psycho Mantis as being kind of like a master in that craft, so to speak, I guess. I think like I don't know, I to a certain degree, it makes me respect the character more, because in this series of which is full of all these like weird supernatural paranormal things, he still to me is like top 3 or top 5 characters in the whole series. So yeah, I don't think I'd say it diminishes his character, but what about you? What do you think?
I like it personally. I think it makes the storyline way more interesting. I mean, Vulcan Raven, he's in it. He's got the weird relationship with the Ravens. Similar to the relationship Wolf has, Sniper Wolf has with the Wolves.
Yeah.
Vamp is ridiculous, but that's part of the character of Vamp. But I mean, I think they could have done a bit more in like the Phantom Pain, specifically with Venom. They had the perfect excuse to get really wild with it, because he could simply just be hallucinating. And when they didn't really go too much with it, they actually tried to play it off as practical. Here is Psycho Mantis puppeting Volgan as like some Weekend at Bernie's kind of thing, and he's just running around out there and he's getting shot up with bullets and fire. I'm like, that's one thing I never understood. Where did this fire physically come from? Because he didn't have that issue. Like he had electricity, so that's like true, it didn't make any sense to me. I mean, they could have done a lot more where it was him projecting fire out mentally, or he was blowing up grenades, and like they could have made it a little bit more interesting, and they could have done so much more. Like, say if you're in a mission and you like hit your head or you jumped too much, and you started seeing soldiers that aren't actually there that are shooting at you, and then when you shoot them, they just vanish. Or if you were trying to like go and save somebody, like someone you thought was like a hostage, and then you went to go grab them, and that they're actually not there. You attach the recovery system, and then they vanish because he's hallucinating. He's not all there. And I think they had such good excuse, and they didn't use it. And
no, that's true.
I was kind of disappointed when I got to the end of that game. I'm like, they basically used it for the very, very end, which is a decent twist. Like we kind of all saw it coming, because we all knew, like, at some point, how did Big Boss survive Metal Gear 1? So, and like, you had to have something somewhere. But I like, all in all, I do appreciate the silliness to the paranormal aspect of it. I think it makes the game way more interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just quickly to go back to what you're saying about the missed opportunity with Venom Snake. I think I remember like when the trailers were coming out for that game, I swear I remember watching like so many theory videos talking about, is this a hallucination? And a big part of that was obviously the shrapnel that Venom Snake has, affecting his brain essentially. It's kind of weird to think about. Back to all the theories now for MGS5. Now, well, obviously we know how that game plays out, but I guess like one thing, what do you think about like what they did with Pars in that game, where that was kind of like some weird hallucination side story that they kind of chucked in?
So I still haven't fully like digested that. I watched it and I'm like, what the hell? Like, what's the point? Like, there's something about it that it still rubs me the wrong way, and I don't know what it is. And I haven't figured it out yet, to be honest.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, I'm similar, to be honest. I remember finishing that and being like, okay, what was the point of that? I'm sure like someone's done a great analysis out there.
Yeah,
but again, it kind of goes back to, I think this is just the biggest issue with MGS5 overall. It's just the delivery of story in that game. It's all very sidelined, I find, and just I don't know. It just doesn't, like every like MGS 1 to 4. I'm hooked to that storyline. I love watching the cutscenes and the dialogue, and MGS5 has like incredibly shot cutscenes, and like some of them are pretty cool, but like I don't know, there's just something about the delivery of that story overall which just did not hit. And I kind of think like a big part of why Kojima decided to do like cassette tapes and stuff is because of the backlash of the criticism to the cutscenes in 4. I think it was a huge reaction to that.
I 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah, and like whilst I understand, maybe the cutscenes in 4 are probably a bit longer than the gameplay. The cutscene ratio is maybe a bit off. I do think it's a shame that he was kind of deterred to, tell the story through cutscenes in future, or in Metal Gear Solid 5 essentially. It's kind of a shame. I'd always love to see like an alternative reality version of that game where there were more like kind of directly delivered kind of cutscenes that told the story a bit more confidently, but I guess we'll never see it.
I wonder if there's a good way to recut that story and actually make just take all the cinema pieces, put it together to create an actual fully flowing storyline. It might be easier to understand what was going on. I mean,
maybe,
time, but I wonder.
Yeah,
anybody's done that.
Maybe you do get those. I often see videos where it'll be like MGS2 the movie, where someone just does exactly that. So I wonder if there is an MGS5 version of that. Who knows? But yeah, I do find with MGS5, it's the story. I gain more and more appreciation of it over time. Like I was. Sorry, we're probably dragging on this question a bit.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Like, you're diving into this stuff. This is stuff I want to talk about.
Great. I remember when the Venom Snake reveal, when I first experienced that, I was at first I was like shocked. I was like, oh wow, like you said, the clues were there, but it was kind of cool to see it. Well, it was surprising rather to actually see it. And I remember at first being really disappointed in that twist. Being like, I was really excited to actually play as the real big boss, like, and kind of see his story and where, so the fact that like his story is out of the picture in that, or that character is out of the picture in that game, and he's kind of off in the background, initially I found really disappointing. But I don't know if I've just kind of warmed to the story over time, but there are aspects of the Venom Snake character that I do think are actually really interesting now. Like when I've seen people analyze it, and I think it kind of does like tie in with a big theme of Metal Gear Solid of like clones of this legend. He is essentially a clone, just in a different way. So it is interesting.
Essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly that. But I guess where the thing where I'm a bit disappointed with Venom Snake is I do wish that his character had a bit more dialogue, just a bit more characterization.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. He's there, but he's not. He's a phantom.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, maybe that's perfect. He plays into the phantom role. But, you know, compared to like Solid Snake and Big Boss, I find those characters so fascinating to play as and to watch them in cutscenes.
Yeah, he's very different than any other antagonist we've had. I mean,
yeah,
they're all chatty, except for him, essentially. I mean,
yeah,
Raiden's super ridiculous at times, but he's entertaining. So
yeah, exactly. Whereas Venom, I just find a bit flat. Like I am more into the idea of the character, and I do understand. I think it is nice that it plays into the original Metal Gear game, and I think like I really hope if we do get a remake of the first Metal Gear game, they really play into that whole fact that he's Venom. It would be cool to like play that game with you, the player, knowing who this guy is, but Solid Snake not. I think there's an opportunity there to do some really interesting stuff.
That actually kind of brings me up to the next question in regards
go for it.
What it is. You and Luffy kind of touched on this a little bit. Do you think there needs to be a continuation of that storyline, like Metal Gear Solid 5? I mean, if we take into account Chapter 3 is actual continuity, that it took place, even though it didn't actually happen in the game, do you think there still needs to be more story to be told there?
So, like, more story kind of prior to the events of Metal Gear, the first one. Is that what you're thinking?
Exactly. Because you were just pretty much talking about it right there.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure if a game between MGS5 and Metal Gear is necessary, so to speak. But I do wonder. I wouldn't mind if they do a remake of Metal Gear. I think it would be interesting to develop that story a bit more, to tie it in with 5 a bit more. How they do that, I'm not entirely sure. But I think, you know, if you get a team of good writers who are really, you know the lore of Metal Gear Solids, I feel like you could really fill out that game, because, you know, the game now is, you know, obviously it's iconic because it's the first Metal Gear game, but I don't think it's an amazing game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a product of its time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, there's no like deep story there or anything like that. It's very bare bones. So I think it's so ripe for opportunity to really like fill out that story, and you could really like, in the right hands, make that a really standout remake of that original game, with everything we now know about the whole continuity of the saga. But how about you? Do you think there should be more?
So what I want is a game, which is the game that they sold us, which is you're playing as Big Boss. That's what I want. I want to know what happened after Ground Zeroes, and I want to know what Big Boss was doing between the time period where he got out at the very beginning of the Phantom Pain, what he was doing between that time period where he was sitting there. He had to have been setting up Zanzibar land. He had to have been doing it during the same time period. He also had to have somehow tricked the U.S. government to letting him become the commander of Foxhound again. I want to know how that happened. I want to know what changed with Venom Snake, that Big Boss felt that he had to go and send somebody in to basically kill him. That I want to see this, like the deployment of him, like building this all up. I think there's a whole game there, and I also think that they could tie in we got notes on that real quick. Let me see how I wrote this down. Like, I want to see him turn into, like, he has to turn on his friend. Like, I want to see the emotional issues that come from that. What drove that decision? I want to also see, like, because there's some like social like management that goes into like trying to set this stuff up, and like, because he's got to manage them, he has to manage his own base, then he also has to manage Foxhound. I also think that they could essentially remake Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2 with these games, because you have to go and essentially build the assets for it, so that they could, because you have to build it in the game, they would have to develop it. So you could reuse part of what was used in the Phantom Pain. You can set up something new for Zanzibar Land, and then you also have the perspective of being able to play the remakes from Big Boss's point of view, and then or Metal Gear 1 and 2 from Big Boss's point of view, and then you can flip it, and then you can actually legitimately just have a Metal Gear 1 and a Metal Gear 2 remake all included into a really pretty substantial, decent game. I think there's a game there. And
no, that's a really cool idea. Yeah. Because I guess at the moment we just kind of have to fill in the gaps for ourselves as to, you know, we know, like, Big Boss realized that he has to be more in the background. Being at the forefront isn't working, because then he just gets taken out, like what happens to Mother Base. So I wonder, like, how they would do the gameplay for that.
Well, I think we'd have to manage it as Big Boss, but I think you would, similar to what you do with Metal Gear Solid 5, you deploy out a person. I don't think you can.
Oh, right, okay.
Maybe every now and then you can use Big Boss, but I think you would have to that or play as Solid Snake, which would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be like awesome, actually. If they did like Metal Gear, when, like you said, you had that management aspect plus the kind of that could be really cool. You could really do a lot with that. But do you how do you feel about that being developed without Kojima? Do you think Kojima's there's a bit of debate I found recently in the Metal Gear community, like how reliant are these games on Kojima, I guess, so to speak.
I used to be a Kojima purist, where I would not take any of the games that were not made by him as any type of continuity. I wouldn't even consider even playing the games. But if we want to keep Metal Gear Solid alive, we have to let go of Kojima, so that way the series can grow. If not, it's dead. And like one of the games that I've never played specifically because Kojima wasn't involved with it, which has gotten really popular, is I can't even remember the name of it.
Rising?
Rising.
Yeah.
I have it.
Yeah.
It sits right here, but I don't play it. I want to play it now. I had to come to terms with it. It's not that, but it's not Kojima, but that's okay. Kojima's doing other things. So I'm kind of in a similar mindset where I've played I'm quite easy with playing any Metal Gear Solid game. If it's got Metal Gear on it, I'll give it a shot. With or without Kojima, like Portable Ops, for example. I played the hell out of that on my PSP back in the day. But yeah, I used to be like, Kojima's gone, Metal Gear's done, and I don't want, then that paired with Metal Gear Survive coming out, I was like, no, it's done. But I think over time, I think obviously they say, time's a healer and all that cheesy stuff, but also you see, having read interviews with Kojima around the time of MGS2, when he's like, right, yep, this will probably be the last one for me, and I'm happy for people to take it into their hands and continue the story. The fact that it's almost without realizing it. Well, not without realizing it, but you can almost retroactively look at it as him giving his blessing to make these games without him. It's funny because he does that, and then at the same time, I watched I think it was a Conan O'Brien interview where he was going and he was doing something with Death Stranding, and they were talking about Metal Gear. I don't remember if that was that interview or not, but he got right. They were talking about the game that they were making and that none of them were involved, and he was mad. He's like, they're not going to be able to make this without me. So I'm like, oh really? Okay. He's got that bit of an ego that goes along with it. He didn't give the blessing, so therefore it's not okay. I think that's true. Is
Yeah, that's true. I do think like as much as I love Kojima, he is a very narcissistic person. Like,
Yeah, he is.
like there's no denying. Like I said, I love the guy. I love his work. You know, but Jesus Christ, like I feel like he got more and more narcissistic over time. The more, you know, with the first Metal Gear Solid game, you know, he wasn't unless you were like really in the know. Hideo Kojima, that name probably wasn't really known before that. You know, he'd made some games before, obviously, but I think the more and more popular Metal Gear Solid got and people recognizing that name Hideo Kojima, I think it really got to his head, to the point where, you know, in MGS5, God, you see his name like I got countless times in that. Every mission you start, it's like directed by, written by, produced by. It's just like, come on, man, like we get it. Like I like you as a creator, but you're just you really
You've
really become it's just like just we get it. You're a gaming genius. You don't need to. I don't know. It's kind of, I find it a bit disappointing in some ways because
don't meet your heroes kind of thing, because you might get disappointed. I get what you're saying with him.
It's kind of ironic, I think, that like a huge theme of Metal Gear Solid is like legends, and I think he's kind of fallen in love with his own legend almost. Like it's kind of ironic in some ways.
Oh, hang on.
You're right. What you got there?
Sorry about that. My
oh no, sorry.
Fell out. But no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's just like because he's got that documentary coming out about himself, produced by his own company.
I saw that.
It's just like
I'm gonna watch it, but that might have to be watched with like a drink, simply so that I can like kind of chuckle at the whole thing, just because of the way he is.
I know, like I'm gonna watch it because I do love the guy. Like I said, despite me kind of criticizing him there, but I was laughing at the trailer. Like just to think that this is a documentary put by his own production company, and in the trailer they're like, it's like the visionary video game creator who did, and it's like he's approved that, you know. Like, he might have edited that trailer, so he is like in love with himself.
Like there's being gracious about it, and then there is like really just basking in it. And the guys,
he showed the latter.
The Nintendo guys, the guy who made Mario, can't remember his name right now.
Miyamoto.
Yeah, he is graceful about it, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. And,
like he's so humble, and when he turns up, like you can see he just loves. I feel like he's the type of person who, if you met him in real life, similar to David Hayter, he'd be so like nice with the fans. He seems like so lovely. But yeah, he's very humble, very gracious. But I don't know. Like I said, I just want to be clear. I do love Kojima, but
I do too. Like I've bought all of his games. Like I read articles about him constantly. I find him very interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
This is my last question, and then we can get on to yours.
Okay.
And do you think Death Stranding's a continuation of the Metal Gear Solid 4, like past like the destruction of the Patriots? This is what essentially happened after basically all the snakes are gone.
I mean, that's a really cool idea. Like I like that theory. I don't think that's Kojima's intention, but as a fun theory, I could kind of see that's kind of where the world went afterwards.
I mean, like they blew up everything, so I mean they got to rebuild. So
yeah, that's cool. I kind of want to replay Death Stranding now with that in mind. So like it's just a Metal Gear Solid game. That's you could definitely draw some lines there from MGS4 to Death Stranding, but no, I don't believe that's the case.
Yeah, I honestly don't either, but it's fun to think about.
Yeah, definitely, that's a fun theory. I wonder if anyone's made that video or put that theory out there.
No idea.
If not, you should do it.
You know what? I might have to put that out there.
Awesome.
If you guys want to take a look at Player Alert's channel, he's got some great content as well. He has a lot of different discussion topics and stuff that I don't have on my channel. So he's a good resource to go and check out. Enjoy chatting it up with you. Always enjoy when you go and stream different games. When you do, I jump on. So thanks guys for watching. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks everyone.